Hello and welcome into this week's NASCAR Xfinity Series Rewind show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's Xfinity Rewind, we're looking back at Saturday's 11th annual U.S. Cellular 250 laps, 218 and 3/4 miles around the 7/8 mile Iowa Speedway in Newton, Iowa. This was a fairly exciting race. This is about, I think, what we've come to expect from Iowa. We had good racing throughout the pack. Really, this race had about everything you could possibly want, I think, from an Xfinity race. There was good racing throughout the pack, not only in the middle of the pack, but for the lead, for the top 5, for the top 10. If you're somebody that's into good wrecks, there were a few good wrecks in this race. I mean, this race really kind of had it all. This was, I think, about exactly what Iowa should be delivering to us. It doesn't always deliver this, but Iowa, for the most part, is usually pretty good on delivering good races like this. One car failed to qualify for this race. That was Mark Munier in the 17 for Rick Ware Racing. 8 caution flags in this race for a total of 58 laps. First one came at lap 45 as the 22 of Austin Cindric, I believe he had a flat coming off of 4. I'm not really sure exactly what the reason for this was. I believe he had a flat, and he was slowing up a bunch on the front stretch. Noah Gragson had nowhere to go and just plows into the back of Cindric down the front stretch into turn 1. Very unfortunate incident for both of them, especially for Gragson, because Gragson had nowhere to go in this incident, but Gragson would rebound really well from this incident. Stage 1 concluded at lap 60 with Christopher Bell taking the Stage 1 victory. He was extremely fast early on in this race, which wasn't a surprise. Christopher Bell has always been very good at Iowa. Lap 75 was the third caution of the day as the 18 of Riley Herbst and the 51 of Jeremy Clements got together in turn 1. Stage 2 concluded at lap 120 with Christopher Bell also taking the Stage 2 victory. So mark up 2 more playoff points for Christopher Bell. He is really racking them up this season. He and Cole Custer have really got a stranglehold on the playoff points this season. 4 cautions in stage number 3. First one at lap 153 is the 52 of David Starr stopped on the backstretch after spinning in turn 2 and finding the wall. Lap 162, the 00 of Cole Custer wrecks in turn 3. Lap 202, the 1 of Michael Annett wrecks in turn 2. And the final caution of the day, lap 219 for fluid on the track. And that was an interesting caution in and of itself because NASCAR opened the pits while there was a sweeper truck on the apron in turn 4. So they opened the pits under caution. The sweeper truck's throwing up all this dust from the speedy dry and everything. Very hard to see to get on pit road. And Dylan Bassett in the 90 just kind of plows into the back of the sweeper truck. So that's one of those deals where NASCAR's got a lot of people want to lay the blame on Dylan Bassett for this one. Visibility was not very good in this situation, and yes, you may be able to lay a little bit of blame on Dylan Bassett for this incident, but at the same time, I think you need to lay more blame on NASCAR for realizing there was a sweeper truck right at the entrance to pit road kicking up all this dust, and that they should have waited another lap until the sweeper truck was out of the way, so there was no chance of it causing a problem. And the thing is, this is not the first time this has happened. There's been multiple incidents of where NASCAR has opened the pits when there's been a sweeper truck or something of that sort right near the entrance to pit road, and somebody has run into whatever it is that's there near pit road. And honestly, I lay the blame on NASCAR in this kind of a situation. You've got to know where these things are, and you've got to realize situationally that it's not a good idea to open pit road when there's a sweeper truck right there at the entrance to pit road kicking up dust everywhere and making visibility relatively zero. So, it's a hairy situation. I for the most part, I blame NASCAR for that situation. I've seen a lot of people wanting to lay blame on Dylan Bassett for that, and yes, you can probably lay a little bit of blame on him, but I think most of the blame needs to go to NASCAR for that. They should have been aware of where that truck was and had not opened pit road when they did. 8 lead changes in this race among 5 drivers. Christopher Bell, far and above, led the most laps. 234 laps led by Christopher Bell in this race. Nobody even close to that number. Chase Briscoe, the next closest, led 7 laps in this race. 6 laps, though, went to John Hunter Nemechek. 2 laps led by Zane Smith, and 1 lap went to Jeremy Clements. So Christopher Bell won both stages and led the most laps, and it has a very good track record at Iowa. So really, you would think Christopher Bell had an easy win here, right? No. He got passed with 7 to go, and Chase Briscoe took the victory in this one. His first victory of the season, second career Xfinity Series victory for the driver of that 98 car, locks himself into the playoffs. I mean, I really was already in the playoffs. A very small chance of falling out where he was points-wise, but just kind of for added security and playoff points at this point, it's very good to pick up that win right now. And good for him to finally get that footing now that he's with this new team in the 98 car for Stewart-Haas Racing. Good for him to finally get that first win for them this season and secure himself and get a little more comfortable in that ride. I think that'll do nothing but good things for him as we head into the playoffs now, and I think he might end up being that 4th guy at Homestead with the big 3. I think he's tracking in that direction. There's a couple of guys that definitely could give him a run for that spot, but I think right now Chase Briscoe might be that guy, that 4th guy at Homestead with the big 3. Speaking of the big 3, Christopher Bell came home in 2nd. John Hunter Nemechek, very strong today. He came home in 3rd. Noah Gragson in 4th, and Tyler Reddick rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10, Justin Allgaier, strong run for Shane Lee in 7th, and at H2 Motorsports Toyota. Justin Haley had a strong run on the day as well. I know I saw him as high as, I believe, 3rd at one point, so he had a good run going. Zane Smith, another strong top 10 run for him in the 8 car in 9th, and Michael Annett rounds out the top 10 to put all 4 junior motorsports cars in the top 10. 11th through 20th, strong run for Ray Black Jr. in 11th. Ryan Sieg had a really good run going at the end, as high as 4th, was battling for 3rd, and then nicks the wall off of 2 with a few laps left, and that sent him spiraling down through the field where he would land in the 12th position. So not as good of a day as it could have been for Ryan Sieg, but still not a bad finish to the day in 12th. Riley Herbst with another run in the 18 car this week. He landed in 13th. Greg Galding in 14th to put both of those SS Greenlight cars in the top 15. So a good day for them. I think that team is slowly making some really good improvements here. And we've seen some good runs out of that team this season. I think that team is just ever so slightly inching its way to becoming one of the bigger teams in Xfinity. It's nice to see one of the smaller teams continuing to grow like that. Ryan Vargas making his Xfinity Series debut in the 15 car for JD Motorsports. He came home in 17th. 21st through 30th, Stephen Parsons in the 99 for BJ McLeod Motorsports. 21st on the day, Dylan Bassett, after his incident with the sweeper truck, he came home in 26th. Will Rogers in the 68th this week for Brandon-Built Motorsports, 28th on the day. Cole Custer after his accident, 29th. And final page, 31st through 38th, Brandon Jones. He had suspension issues on lap 105 and had to retire, and he finished in the 33rd position. Austin Cindric, after his accident, 43 laps completed in the 37th position. So that's your results from the US Cellular 250. Working on a Chase Briscoe interview. Not 100% sure when that's going to get done. Probably here in the next couple days. Just working on the details of when we can fit into his schedule. And once our interview with Chase is done, it will be linked down below in the description if you're watching this after it is done. If you're watching this before, just make sure you're subscribed and you get your notifications turned on so you will get notified when that interview with Chase Briscoe goes up. But let's take a look at your playoff grid before wrapping up here today. Obviously, as we've talked about before, the top 12 pretty well set at this point. That being said, we did have a little bit of moving this week. Obviously, Chase Briscoe moving into a locked-in spot this week. Not too many drivers with wins at this point. Only 5 drivers locked in with wins. Brandon Jones, after his poor finish, does lose a few points to the cutoff line. Now 101 points above Greg Galding. Again, I don't think Greg Galding is going to make up 101 points between now and the start of the playoffs. Technically, it's possible, but with where Greg Galding has been running most weeks, and that's not a knock on Greg Galding, that's just where that SS Greenlight equipment is right now. I don't see him pointing his way into the playoffs. That being said, not out of the realm of possibility that he might sneak in a win somewhere. Again, very unlikely, but possible. But right now, Brandon Jones is about the only guy he really could touch. Ryan Sieg is consistent enough. I don't think Ryan Sieg is going to fall anywhere close down to Greg Galding at this point. Brandon Jones, though, is so inconsistent that it's possible with a couple more bad runs out of that 19 car, it's possible Greg Galding actually could feasibly sneak his way in. Again, unlikely, but kind of possible, I think. So we'll see how that works out going forward. Again, unlikely, but maybe possible. But that's your playoff grid following the U.S. Cellular 250 from Iowa, and I believe that'll do it for us on this Xfinity Rewind. ARCA Rewind for Pocono and a K&N Rewind from Iowa also went up earlier last night or early this morning, and then a Truck Rewind went up just a little bit ago as well for their race from Pocono. So we've had a lot go up this weekend, as well as a winter interview for the ARCA race, working on winter interviews for K&N and trucks, as well as Chase Briscoe for this Xfinity race, so keep an eye out for those as well. And then a Cup Rewind coming up late tomorrow night, Sunday night, maybe even actually early Monday morning. So keep an eye out for that as well. Lots of stuff coming up this weekend. Trucks are at Eldora on Thursday, and then of course we've got Watkins Glen coming up this next weekend for K&N East, Xfinity, and Cup. So lots of exciting stuff coming up for you here in the next week or so. So definitely keep an eye here on the channel, as we'll have some fun stuff coming up for you in the next few days. Possibly some extra videos coming out for you as well, on top of Diecast Review in the middle of the week. So keep an eye out for some cool stuff coming out for you here in the next few days. So if you haven't done it already, you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. While you're down there, why don't you hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. But at that, this has been the NASCAR Xfinity Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.